Good morning, dear friends. Today we are going to have a lecture presentation on Fatehpur Sikri. This topic is particularly helpful for the students of 4th semester architecture assistantship, and it is a part of their History of Architecture course. Fatehpur Sikri is a city just south of Agra, and it was built by Emperor Akbar. Before we talk about the city, I'd like to inform you, dear students, about certain facts regarding Emperor Akbar himself. India has been ruled by different kings, and amongst the greatest kings who have their hold, the entire hold on India as we see today, the map of India. One of them has been Emperor Ashoka in 300 AD, and then it was Emperor Akbar who had sway from Kabul till Dhaka and from Kashmir and just short of the southern peninsula, that is Tamil Nadu. So, Akbar is regarded as one of the kings who had a hold on the entire land of domain of India. And Fatehpur Sikri happens to be a capital city which is built in the 15th century, and it is a very important architectural marvel for the simple reason that it stands today as it is, and I will tell you in the due course of the presentation why that is so, because it is more than 500 years old now, but still the buildings at Fatehpur Sikri are intact as they were built. The reason being that the city, the capital city which Akbar built, was used for a very small period of time, just for about 15 years. Okay, let us see what we have in today's presentation. We will be studying different aspects of Fatehpur Sikri. We will have an introduction, brief introduction, then we will have a short history of Fatehpur Sikri, and of course, being students of architecture, we are concerned with the architectural ensemble which exists today at Fatehpur Sikri, and we will be going to details of the monuments which are landmark monuments, amongst them Buland Darwaza, the Jama Masjid, the tomb of Salim Chishti, Diwan-i-Aam, Diwan-i-Khas, Punch Mahal, and so on. So, as for the introduction, this visual is showing us the Jama Masjid at Fatehpur Sikri. The name Fatehpur Sikri evokes a nostalgia of history amongst Indian minds. The reason being that the buildings which are existing there today, even after 500 years of being built, are really very distinct, and they have been preserved as if frozen in time, I can say. So, this richest period of history can be attributed to the Mughal period, Akbar being one of the emperors who shone amongst the brightest for his deeds, and Fatehpur Sikri stands for all the architectural wonder that this emperor time could conjure up. So, Akbar was a great patron of arts. He had the Navratnas in his palace, where he used to patronize music, he used to patronize singers, he used to patronize different types of arts, and architecture was one of his passions. This is a map where the location of Fatehpur Sikri is being highlighted. It is about 200 kilometers from Delhi, and Agra is just on the western side of Fatehpur Sikri. In fact, Agra used to be the earlier capital from where Akbar ruled, and then this is a detailed map showing the location of Fatehpur Sikri in today's Uttar Pradesh, and this of course on west side is Agra, and then we have Agra, he shifted his capital. So, Akbar decided to shift his capital from Agra to a new location 23 miles, that is about 37 or 40 kilometers on the Sikri ridge, to honor the Sufi Saint Salim Chishti. We also have Salim Chishti's dargah over there, and here he commenced the construction of a planned walled city which took the next 15 years in planning, and construction of series of royal palaces, harems, courts, mosques, private quarters and other utility buildings. Dear students, you must be watching the serial Jodha Akbar nowadays on television. So, it is very relevant, the kind of architecture which was created at Fatehpur Sikri. Just try to correlate when you watch the serial, how it is dependent on that, or whether the serial prayers are given any thought to it. We will be seeing down in our presentation how the buildings looked like. So, what happened was the city was established by Emperor Akbar in 1569 when he visited the Sufi Saint Salim Chishti, as he did not have a son. So, he was blessed with a son after he met with the famous saint, and then Akbar named his son, who was born later on, as Salim himself. So, Jahangir, who was the next emperor, who was the son of Akbar, his name, his short name was Salim, and he was named after Salim Chishti, who used to have his religious place or place of abode at Fatehpur. Akbar named the new capital Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri means city of victory, after the military victory over Ranthambore. So, Ranthambore was a tough kingdom, and Akbar had to toil for long time, and when he won over the region of Ranthambore, he could penetrate in the south. And as a mark of his military victory, he dedicated the new city he built at Fatehpur Sikri after Salim Chishti, who used to be there, the saint, and it is one of the finest examples of Mughal architecture splendor at its height. Here we have in the visual King Akbar himself, and some of the in the sketch you can see some of the buildings which we will be dealing in detail. So, it was built between 69 and 85, 1569 1585, and was intended to be the joint capital with Agra, but was soon deserted because the water system could not support any residents. This is the reason why the buildings which are built at Fatehpur Sikri are still intact, because they were not used for a very long duration. In fact, just for a few years the capital shifted to Fatehpur Sikri, and there was a tremendous shortage of water, drinking water. Since it was atop a hill, it was on a ridge, the engineers of that time failed to think of a system to get water. So, it remained untouched for over 400 years now, and its palaces are a reminder of the extravagance of the Mughals. Fatehpur Sikri, the best example of the culmination of Hindu and Muslim architecture. Akbar himself was a very open person. He didn't want Islam to be the people to follow Islam by force. In fact, he created a new religion, Deen-e-Ilahi. So, he was very benevolent towards all the things which were prevailing at that time, be it architecture, be it poetry, be it music, and he was a connoisseur of all the arts. So, the buildings at Fatehpur Sikri reflect his nature, that he allowed different craftsmen from Hindus, from Jains, from Muslims, and the architecture which resulted was totally an amalgamation of the Indian architecture which had existed earlier. So, for the buildings at Fatehpur Sikri are a landmark in that aspect also, that they united all the artisans from different hues and from different religions, and they were given a free chance to create architecture which is really outstanding. And we as students of architecture, we have to learn how amalgamation takes place. We have to learn and see how proportion, how beauty can be achieved by using different elements. So, in this visual you can see these are the images of Fatehpur Sikri. On the left side you have the Punch Mahal and throbbing with life at that time, and on the right side you have the Buland Darwaza and the side elevation. We will see more details. This is again some brief background about the architecture of Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri sits on a rocky ridge, so that is why there was a problem of water. It was on a height, 3 kilometers in length. The city which was planned was almost 3 kilometers in length and 1 kilometer in width, and the palace city is surrounded by 6 kilometers of wall on 3 sides, with the fourth being a lake at that time. Its architect was Tuhiid. The entire city or Fatehpur Sikri's town planning was done by an architect named Tuhiid, and was constructed using Indian principles, means like Hindu principles. The buildings of Fatehpur Sikri show synthesis of various regional schools of architectural craftsmanship such as Gujarat and Bengal. Now, Akbar had won over all these areas. Gujarat was also under Akbar's empire. Bengal on the far East was also under, so lot many craftsmen, lot many ideas were fertilizing, cross fertilizing, and Fatehpur Sikri became a ground where all these amalgamated into the buildings which exist there today, as we will study. So this was because indigenous craftsmen used for the construction of the buildings. So people from the entire region where Akbar had its way came down to build Fatehpur Sikri. Influences from Hindu and Jain architecture are seen hand in hand with Islamic elements. The building materials used in all the buildings at Fatehpur Sikri Palace City Complex is the locally quarried red sandstone. So the one unifying medium for all the buildings is the red sandstone, which is quarried locally. So it is also known as the Sikri sandstone. It is accessed, the city is accessed through gates along the 5-mile long fort wall, namely there are many gates, namely the Delhi Gate, the Lal Gate, the Agra Gate, Birbal Gate, and so on. And so it was a capital city. There needed to be a well thought of security system, and it was on a hill, and there were many gates before the enemy could penetrate. This is a map of Fatehpur Sikri at the site. We will see that more in detail. And this is a Google image of Fatehpur Sikri, where distinctly there are two parts of the city. This one is the religious part or the mosque complex here, and this one is the palace complex. So although there are pathways linking both of them, but primarily there are two distinct zones. One is the religious zone, the other is the residential or the palace zone. Here we have it in detail. You are students of architecture, you can all understand these are the contour lines. It is on a hilly site, and this is the religious complex or the mosque complex we are talking of, and this is the palace. They are very close by, and this entire composition is about 3 miles long and about 1 kilometer wide. So that is the scale we are looking at. This is more in detail. So now you should be able to identify that the blue part, as I have been telling, is the palace, and the green part, which is at the bottom, the north is towards the top. The green part at the bottom is the mosque complex. So the mosque was a very integral part of the palace. Even in Delhi, where we have the Red Fort, the Chandni Chowk, there also, wherever we have Islamic architecture or Mughal architecture, the mosque takes a centerpiece also. They used to pray, the kings and the subjects and the people who lived there, they had a religious place essentially along with their living quarters. So this mosque, we will study various buildings. For example, this building is the Buland Darwaza, this one is the Salim Chishti's tomb, this itself is the mosque, and then here we have the Diwan-i-Aam, Diwan-i-Khas, we have Jodhabai's palace, we have the Punch Mahal, the Anup Talab. It's a very intrinsically laid out complex, but what you have to notice at this juncture is that it's all very symmetrical in planning. It's all rectilinear planning. There is a sense of scale, there is a sense of proportion amongst these two complexes, and within the complex also each of the components is very well delineated out, and it will now move on to the images of and also study the individual components, so that you can know in detail what we are talking of. This is the plan, and I was telling that this is the plan of the palace only. So not give too much time on this, we will study each one of these in detail. For example, this is the Diwan-i-Aam, where the king used to meet his subjects, and this one is the Diwan-i-Khas, where he used to have his council of ministers and make important decisions. And then this is a place called Khwabgah. This is the Punch Mahal, where he used to sleep, and there is a pool of water here called Anup Pool, Anup Talab, and we have the Punch Mahal, where he used to enjoy his evenings. And now this becomes this front part, or the, let's say, the right part, is the place where the king is meeting his subjects and is having his council of ministers. The part towards the left, which is the entry, is from here on the right side. The inside part is all for the queens, for his harem. This is, for example, Jodhabai's palace. This is Birbal's house, and then here we have the various harems where the different queens used to stay, and this also is the place for the harem. So it's very well planned in a way that you have the public spaces on the outside, and then as you move inwards, you have your private places. We will see the details of each one of these now. The Diwan-i-Aam, how it looked like, the Khas, the palace for the queen Jodhabai, and for the others. In fact, his mother Miriam also had a quarter over here at number 14. That was Miriam's house. Okay. These are some of the images I want you to sink in before we understand each of the buildings in detail. Look at the rich culture, rich ornamentation which has resulted because of amalgam of different craftsmen from different religions coming there. So there are arches which have Jain influence. You can notice that very clearly in the visual. Then the chhatris, which were a hallmark of Islamic architecture, they are there everywhere. So today much of the imperial complex, which spreads over nearly 2 miles and 1 mile wide, is largely intact and resembles a ghost town. It is still surrounded by a 5-mile long wall built during the original construction on 3 sides. So the reason is that the town was not used much because there was a paucity of water, as I told you earlier. These are some of the visuals of the corridors of the buildings. Look at the elaborate brackets and the ornamentation at the base of the columns. Try to understand that this was a time, we are talking of 1500s, 60s, 70s, where relatively the spans had to be not too big. The technology wasn't that advanced. So this corridor might be about a good 15 to 20 feet wide. That's all which was possible with the stone, red sandstone, which was available at that time, and primarily it's stone construction. So also important to note is the details of the ornamentation which have been done into the stone, fine engravings and carvings, the patterns even drawn from sometimes Buddhist traditions, and then each of the craftsmen coming from different regions, resulting in a very varied but collective kind of effort which gives a distinct identity to the Fatehpur Sikri architecture. Even the ceilings, notice, have been, today you have your false ceilings in such patterns. This is, we are talking of 400 years ago or 500 years ago that this kind of architecture existed. So the shapes, I think the symbols we still tend to use today. Look at, try to notice if you have a false ceiling in your room, it's exactly this way that you decorate it, as I am showing on the cursor. So this is really remarkable, and these are some of the patterns on the walls of Fatehpur Sikri. And again, one of the structures that is dedicated to the queen has beautifully carved out 64 earring designs. How wonderful! Since this is from the wall on the Jodhabai's house, look at the craftsman's ingenuity that they have 64 different type of earrings done on the stone wall. Really remarkable. So this is what is so very intriguing about Fatehpur Sikri. The designs are still there, and these are some designs on the walls. Again, some more patterns. And now let's move on to the different monuments which exist at Fatehpur Sikri. We'll touch upon the major ones one by one. As I told you, there are two parts of the city. One is the religious part. So the religious part has the Buland Darwaza, which was the gateway of victory, which was the first building to be built at Fatehpur Sikri. It is on the Jama Masjid complex. So this is the Buland Darwaza we are talking of. You can have a sense of the scale that you can see some people standing at the bottom. It's a huge building, and it was a landmark building to proclaim the victory of Akbar, military victory at Ranthambore. So, you have the usual elements, the chhatris, the arches, the Mughal architecture for which it is famous, but the scale here goes for a grand sized building. This is the Buland Darwaza, or the lofty gateway, was built by great Mughal Emperor Akbar in 1601. It is one of the best examples of Indo-Islamic architecture. The mosaic wall with its combination of red and yellow sandstone and marble is admirable. Let us see, we are talking of this building in the entire plan of the city. As you must have now realized by now, this is the palace and this is the masjid complex or the mosque complex, and this is a gateway, one of the gateways to the mosque. This is the rear side of the Buland Darwaza. From the back it looks like that. It's topped by chhatris and pillars and the usual Mughal architecture, and it's been placed, since the whole site is very rocky, it's placed at a height and a huge number of steps which lead to the gateway. It's a building very distinct in its style and very huge in scale. It's 40 meters high, so that's about a good 15-storied building. So this gateway is about 15 storied high building and 50 meters from the ground. So it's another 15 stories from the ground. It's been placed strategically so that it is visible and it is intimidating to the people who think they can penetrate the city. So that's what's unique about Buland Darwaza. The total height of the structure is 54 meters from the ground level. It is a 15-storied high gateway that guards the southern entrance of the city of Fatehpur Sikri. It took 12 years to build. So this is the plan of the Buland Darwaza. The part which you see over here, and then it is a chamfered kind of thing. There you have it. So this is the entrance gateway. You have a small gateway, of course, and then this is the rear view which I told you, and inside there is a huge dome also. This is the section of the Buland Darwaza. You rise from the ground like this over a series of steps, and this is where you enter. And from the behind, I showed you a view, there are not many chhatris which are visible, and this is the section how it was created. Here you can see the complete 3D view of the Buland Darwaza. This is the inside the mosque now, and from the other side is the major view, which this is the view from the outside, and the wall which you see here on the side, this is the wall of the mosque complex. So this is this wall. It has cloisters or a corridor, and this is the Jama Masjid. So so much for Buland Darwaza. It is one of the landmark buildings at Fatehpur Sikri, and some more views of the Buland Darwaza and the central dome, how it looks from the inside. A lot of carving done there, and some of the ornamentation done on the walls, the jalis, and there is a sketch. And now we move on to the Jama Masjid. I like to tell you, in the plan, this was the Buland Darwaza. Now moving on to the next building, which is the Jama Masjid. So the mosque marks the phase of transition in Islamic art, as indigenous architecture elements were blended with Persian elements. So the Indian elements which existed at that time and the Persian elements, they were amalgamated. The pillared liwan of the facade, the liwan with 3 arched openings framed by panels and crowned by 5 chhatris. So normally, if you studied earlier, the mosque itself has a specific kind of architecture, and normally there are 3 domes, and here we have 2 small ones at the corners. So this is a place of worship, and this is the building we are talking of. On the left side, it's been colored here. This is the Jama Masjid, and here you have the prayer hall inside. Okay, this is a 3D view of the entire Jama Masjid complex, where at number 1 you have your Buland Darwaza, number 5 is the, of course, the prayer room or the masjid itself. In between there are 2 more minor buildings or major buildings as you may call them. 4 is the tomb of, 3 is the tomb of Salim Chishti, and 4 is the tomb of Islam Khan. There is a mausoleum. Now this is the plan of the Jama Masjid, very usual stuff. Almost all the masjids are like that. And this is the interior. The patterns you can notice, red sandstone again being predominant, and lot of carving. This is the interior, where you can notice some ornamentation and color also. There are watercolor paintings depicting floral designs, the dado panel, the spandrels, all of them are very profusely painted, and pendentives are supporting the domes in this case. Let's move on to the next building, that is in the same complex. We have the tomb of Salim Chishti. Salim Chishti, remember, is the saint to whom Akbar came, and when he was blessed with a son, he decided to shift his capital to this place. So Salim Chishti is buried here, and his tomb is one of the very prominent buildings which the very famous tourist attraction, and it said that if you go there and tie a thread, whatever you wish, that wish is fulfilled. So it is this building we are talking of. This was the Buland Darwaza. Here we have the Jama Masjid, and next here this is the major building. It's entirely made in marble. Now a different material is being used to make it stand out. The tomb has been constructed on a platform which is about 1 meter high, and the main tomb building is enclosed by delicate marble screens on all sides. The tomb is located in the center of the main hall, which is a single semicircular dome. So a very distinctive building, lot of Jain architecture being visible here, the kind of brackets, the kind of filigree work done, and the kind of jali work. Let's see some more details. This is the Salim Chishti's tomb with a central dome, and this is the interiors of the dome. Of course, they are marble. In this photograph, they are looking like sandstone, but it's all in marble, white marble. So notice the intricate designs. That is what Fatehpur Sikri is so famous about. It was amalgamation of so many artists from different regions who came. For example, just imagine the kind of labor it took to create this kind of work in marble. Really remarkable, and very fine craftsmanship, I must say. Look at these column details, the brackets, just about, I think, unthinkable, and lot of handwork and labor has gone into creating these. There is an old painting of Salim Chishti's tomb, and this is the 3D view of Salim Chishti's tomb. And of course, if you are with me by now, on the left side is the Jama Masjid, and behind this is the Buland Darwaza, and that's the Islam Khan's mausoleum on the right side over here. This is a small building. Now let's move on to the complex, the palace complex, where we have so many more buildings to cover today. I think we should be doing it in time. The Diwan-i-Aam, this is the building now we are talking of in the entire scheme of things, the one colored here. So Diwan-i-Aam, as the name suggests, is the place where the emperor is going to meet the common people who are going to come there with their faryads, as I may say, or if they have to meet the king for a certain reason. This is the place. So there is a huge courtyard, basically a huge courtyard, and a building where the king sits. This is the building where the king sits, and one by one the commoners or the armed people are going to come up to him, and he is going to listen to them. The Diwan-i-Aam was the court where the Mughal emperors allowed the common citizens to visit them and discuss their problems. The emperor then tried to find a solution to these problems. The Diwan-i-Aam was also a court of justice, where the emperor pronounced punishment for the people guilty for any offence according to the laws, or he also gave favors to ones who did good work. So, it is a small structure that way. Akbar was very conscious, he does not want to now make it a very elaborate affair. The Buland Darwaza is there to proclaim his height and might, and then the palace complex is somewhat scaled down. All the buildings in the palace complex are very humane in scale. So, this view is showing the Diwan-i-Aam and the small quarter where another